Let's begin with the Devil's Forest 3 tutorial. So here we go. Yeah, so out of all the tracks in the game, this is the one track where beating the Steppe Coast with a grip-based driving style is really hard. So this is the only track in the game where I did make a grip-based strategy, but the drifting strategy is easier for sure to beat the Steppe Coast, and it's also a lot faster. So the corners on this track are absolutely perfect for drifting. The track layout is really interesting as well because it's basically the same track twice, only upside down. So you drive normally and then you switch over to upside down. There's a tunnel in the end as well. That's very interesting for our later strategies to have some fun with that. But let's watch the first one. Alright, so as an exception, this is the only track where this is going on. I made two different strategy ones. One is grip based, that's the first one that I just showed, and one is drifting based. And the drifting strategy that I will show next is really easier. Drifting in itself as a move is more tricky than grip based driving, but the only way to beat the Steppe Coast with this is to do tunnel dives. And those are not easy at all. That's why the grip strategy is harder, 4 out of 10, which is not easy at all as a start. But of course I cannot settle for a strategy that doesn't even beat the Steppe Coast. So this is necessary for beating the Steppe Coast, and it's also the fastest grip strategy there is. So let's analyze it. Goal 1095. Yeah, so around 110 or so, it's really quite hard to get. And this strategy is kind of useless anyway, because there's no way you would ever play this track without drifting, unless your intention is to play grip based. So you're gonna need a lot of side attacks in the corners, of course. Try to take the ideal lines, driving straight lines as well, and pick the shortest lines possible for your driving lines. And what I found optimal, even though it's a bit silly at this very low speed, is to just keep side attacking, mash that Z button all the way through the corner as fast as you can. Stay on the inside. It does maintain a higher speed than if you gently steer through it, because you can also make it without side attack. But you can really stay on the absolute inside of the corner here with all these side attacks, and that is a little bit faster in the end. Yeah, so far lap 1 there's not very much going on. I mean, these side attacks are kind of icing on the cake as well, you know, you really don't need to do them, but it is a bit faster. Now this is where the tricky part is. This is where you can really win time on that staff ghost, because the staff ghost is, you can still see him driving ahead of us. And there's no way to pass him unless we do this trick at the end of the tunnel. So what I do, I go up to the right side with some right side attacks and then move the nose of the ship down left and keep mashing the R button to do sort of a double tap dive down, and that move is really quite advanced. Not something that really a beginner would do, but that is the only way to beat the staff ghost. I don't boost in the corners, and I don't boost after this corner as well, because now we're flipping over to upside down, and this section right here on all strategies completely destroys your speed. So immediately boost after it, don't boost in the corner, and then as soon as you leave the corner, start boosting again. Yeah, so the staff ghost is actually gaining time on us. You can see the difference really becoming smaller and smaller. And so we need to do another double tap dive in lap 2 as well to beat the staff ghost. But really lap 3 is more or less the same as lap 2. That's coming up, so wait until the end of the pipe. Go as far right as possible while staying on the bottom half. You don't want to go on the top section because that will completely mess you up with the double tap dive if you want to do that. So you cannot go there, but you can go as high as possible until the sort of corner you see in this pipe section between the bottom half and the top half. Yeah, so this track is really interesting. When I first learned how to play this game, this was the only staff ghost that I could not figure out how to beat. How it was accelerating away from me really quickly, as you could see in lap 1. And that's because when I first had this game, so let's say the first half a year or to a year, I didn't know really how drifting worked and how to do that well. And I always played grip based just like this. And I just couldn't figure out how to beat this staff ghost. And it forced me to figure out and learn how to drift. And once I figured that out, it was a piece of cake. But this really puzzled me quite a bit when I first had the game. So you need to be actually pretty good at grip-based driving and as well as this tunnel dive to be able to beat this staff ghost at all in this way. But with drifting, as we'll show you next, it's gonna be a lot easier. So I don't do double tap dive on lap 3 because the setup time does not make up for what you could possibly gain. So that's the first grip-based strategy. If your goal is to just beat the staff ghost or really learn how to play this track to get an advanced good time, then this next strategy is for you. It's slightly easier than the last one, and this is all drifting based because this track is perfect for drifting. So let's watch it first. So there we go. This is what drifting looks like on this track. As you could see, this is already about 7 seconds faster in potential than the last strategy, and we don't even have to do any tunnel dives. Just drifting and boosting. So let's analyze it. First you will notice that I'm picking the Night Thunder for this track, and that is because we do not need any airtime. We're just sticking to the track, and heavier ships are very slightly better at drifting, gaining speed while drifting than lower weight ships. So that's why it is very slightly faster than Bloodhawk on this track. Yeah, so especially these corners, these long corners, they're absolutely perfect for drifting. So you want to stay to the inside and then slowly move away from the apex to the outside of the track to keep your drifting lines smooth and long, and try to take advantage of the full width of the road. After this flipping upside down section, immediately real drift on the left side to build up your speed again, because it completely destroys your speed. And try to keep this drift going all the way up to here. Then use the right side attack to end it, because you really want to keep those drifts going for as long as possible. That's key here to get good times. Do a small drift around here and switch drift to the left along this rail, and then into a real drift. This is where you want to be careful, because your drifting angle should not be too hard, because we do want to refill our energy completely, and as you can see in the video, I just very barely do that. So if your drifting angle is just slightly more turned towards the rail, you will not refill. So that's something to take into account. Also with this boost drift, as you can see, going along the apex and then going all the way wide, take advantage of the full width of the road. That's really what can win you seconds on this track. This one as well. I like the side attack into drift as well, because it reduces the setup time, the setup phase of a drift, very slightly. So whenever you enter a drift, the car is turning toward the side before it really starts to gain speed while drifting, and in that part of the drift you lose speed and you lose time. It's very brief, but doing a side attack first can reduce that setup time. That's icing on the cake, really. Yeah, so at the end of the second lap I boost into this refiller, then I stop boosting to refill, and then boost drift again to the left side of the pipe. So even though this pipe section is kind of straight, in a pipe you can just boost drift to the side. Keep a nice drift going that way. So I end this drift with a side attack. Side attack along this corner as well, take it as sharp as possible. Again, side attack into a drift. Drift along the apex and then go wide all the way up to the right rail to take advantage of the full width of the road. Of course we cannot do any real drifting in lap 3 because we need to conserve our energy. And if you did that absolutely perfectly, if you didn't hit any sides and you got the full refiller, etc., you will have the energy left for another boost on this straight. And that is what separates like the world record times from the just very good times. If you have the energy left for that extra boost right there. On most of my runs I don't, because I hit the side somewhere or I didn't refill completely in lap 1. It's pretty tricky. So at the end of the race you can just, you can of course boost drift in the refiller rail and into the pipe and just finish. So in potential you can get sub-minute 59.2, it seems to be about the limit without any tunnel dives. Not easy at all, but you will see that once you start to learn how to drift, and this track is absolutely perfect with this strategy in mind to learn how to drift, no really advanced move required, you will see your times go way down up to about the 1 minute barrier. So welcome to the stream, DKR Paddy. So we have 2 out of 3 strategies down now for Devil's Forest 3. You can win about 2 more seconds on this track with tunnel dives and drifting. And this is the current strategy that is used for the world record. You can win just about 2 seconds, so let's watch it first. So there you go. The difficulty, of course, goes up quite a lot just from these tunnel dives because they are not easy at all. But the rest of it is more or less the same, so let's analyze it. So again, we start off with a rail drift on the left rail. You don't want to lose too much energy into a drift into the first corner. And you can see I go all the way wide here because you want to keep that drift going for as long as possible. And you do that in this way. I just barely touched the rail, that section there. You can also go around it with a side attack if you want to just conserve your energy a little bit more. It doesn't matter much. Again, on this corner, I try to go all the way along the inside and then go wide. That's really how you should do these drifts. Then start rail drifting immediately after this section that turns you upside down into this corner. So I try to go along the apex here and then go wide again, all the way to the almost edge of the track. I use the right side attack to exit the drift. Try to keep driving straight lines here into a drift here. Switch drift to a left drift. And into a real drift. And you want to be careful here, just like the previous strategy, of course, that you fill up here actually completely. And that you don't real drift too hard here so you don't really fill up. Now this is where it's going to be different. This is the tunnel dive. So what I do here, I keep the drift going into the pipe section, and then at the end of the pipe section, that's really kind of timing dependent. Yeah, that's how you have to learn it. You drift up, but you really need to stay on the lower half. So you can see this corner right here. You cannot go on this section at all. You will definitely not be able to do a good dive in that way, or you just crash. You need to stay on this section up to this corner here. And as high as possible, of course. So what I'm holding here, I'm drifting all the way up this section to exit the pipe. At this moment, when I'm just about to exit it, I start holding the right to turn the ship like this. And I move the control stick upright to point the nose of the ship down right. And that's the perfect diving angle for a double tap dive Z. And I start side attacking really quickly on this one because this is a kind of tricky situation. If you take too much time to gain height here and set up a good diving angle, the setup time is really hard to make up with the dive you can actually do. So the setup time needs to be very, very short on this. And that's what you can see me do here. right, up. And as you can see, I'm already meshing Z at this point in a perfect diving angle, really, to do a double tap dive and win just a few tenths on the first lap, but most of the time you will win on the second lap, because we're entering the second lap at a much higher speed. Again, boost drift along the apex here, go all the way wide, right side attack along this corner, left side attack here. I wait with boosting quite a bit until my drifting line is just perfect, so I can go as optimally as possible along this corner, so don't boost too early. You want to keep the boost going for the full duration of the drift. Usually I wait for the track texture to change, and at that set precise point I boost along this corner, because you can keep the drift going all the way up to this point. Yeah, boost, go on the inside here, and I go a little bit wide just to gain a little bit more speed, but you need to take this full refiller without boosting in it, drift into the pipe section, and I wait a little bit with boosting there, because now we're doing a true diagonal dive. Okay, the text I prepared is not showing up, I'm not sure why, but it's not really that hard. What you need to do, basically the same as lap 1, you boost drift in the pipe, but again I wait a little bit with boosting, because you want to again stay on this section of the pipe when you exit, and then you want to hold straight down on the control stick, and you will only accelerate really quickly with a true diagonal dive if the boost is still going, and that's why I waited a little bit with the boost. So that's what you can see me do here. Interesting. So the text got messed up, doesn't matter. So you just want to hold straight down and keep the boost going. The tricky part is in the timing, of course, but you need to leave the pipe at the exact right point, the right angle to pull it off. So these dives don't win much time at all. Again, you can win just about 2 seconds with 3 dives in this strategy. But if you want to beat the world record, then you have to do that. And they're pretty cool. Again, so I have this extra boost left at this point. Only if you didn't hit any sides and you really got the full refiller every time. So use all your energy here. Now I have no energy left. I start boosting and then into a real drift on the left side. This is actually quite tricky to do the timing right, to again leave the pipe section at this bottom half point as high as possible and hold down. And again, the potential of this strategy, 57 seconds. The world record is 58.3 if I remember correctly. So you can win just about a second on the world record in potential. This track is quite maxed out, but definitely beatable, as you can see. But you really need to master those tunnel dives if you want to do that. So, fun, cool track, great for learning how to drift, and have fun with it. That's it for Devil's Force 3.